I think there are two things that go along with the Major League Baseball ruling that are very, very important, relevant to what we now know about concussions. Number one is the establishment of baselines for each individual. We've said before, and certainly we reiterate again here, that every brain is, at least to some extent, different. And so trying to compare function of one person against another becomes meaningless unless there's that level of baseline data. A very important step, and I think one that has broad translational impact. The second idea of the 7-day hiatus, the medical disabled list following concussion, is equally important because there seems to be a period of time where there are some latent neurological effects that can then make themselves present, and returning the player too early to play, not only in baseball but in other sports, then becomes a real critical issue as regards not only the health of that individual in the short term, but also then the possibility of incurring secondary and tertiary insult, not only by virtue of another head impact, but simply because of the metabolic effects that then manifest themselves after a concussion. I mean, in pro sports in general, I think there have been a number of issues, not the least of which is that it is professional sports and a certain risk needs to be assumed based upon salary scales, etc. And as a consequence, this was really not seen as a keen area in which these types of injuries would manifest themselves as profoundly as we now recognize. So I think there has been a very, very good set of responses over the past 12 to 15 calendar months, as we've seen with regard to injuries in football. That's certainly made the mainstream media, increasingly now in hockey. So the follow-along effect that we're seeing in baseball is not only timely, but I think is appropriate. So not only will we now see baseball, but I think we'll begin to take a look at other sports, basketball, for example, and then other non-professional or semi-professional sports, certainly rugby, soccer as a professional sport, and then a little bit broader distribution, what's sometimes considered a trickle-down effect, into looking at all organized sports, both individual and team sports as well, given the epidemiology of head injury.